A lot of people are wondering where Bitcoin is going to. Well, you can tell a lot about your future by your past. And today we're going to take a look into where Bitcoin is today compared to where it was in the last bear market. Find out if there's some big gains in store for crypto holders. Let's get it. Welcome to BitSquad Crypto. My name is Ben. Today we're going to be looking at the last bear market, and we're going to be comparing it to this bear market and trying to take a look at exactly where we are. Now, here we are on 2018. You guys can see this here was actually the peak of the market. This would have been in early January 2018. This was about exactly when I started my YouTube channel, started getting things ready for BitSquad Crypto, because this entire bear market right here, I mean, my gosh, that certainly was when this channel was born. Had to definitely learn a lot of tough lessons there. So this right here could really be considered the actual bear market. Everything from here was from the bottom. So if we go and we take a look right here about where the bottom was, that would have been, let's see here, bottom would have been Monday, December 18th, and that would have came in at about, I think it was about $3,200. Let's see, at $3,128, that would have been the low. So if we compare that to where we're at now, we come back and we look at the lows of the bear market, which would have been right here. We would have seen a low of 15,823 on, I guess on this exchange right here. Some had it going lower. Some people had it going as low as 15,400. Some people had it 15,008. Kind of like in 2017, not every exchange had Bitcoin at $20,000, only if you did. But you could definitely know that the high 19,000 range was where the top of 2017 was. So when we come back here and we look at the previous bear market, living through it is a lot different than looking at it on a chart. Living through it, I certainly remembered all of the different time periods of this bear market. You of course had, this was your first drop here. That was your dramatic ending. This was your first major bull trap here. This one right here was such a quick bounce. This one here, we believed the price was gonna go back up because we had consensus coming. We had the famous consensus pump, similar to now we have a Bitcoin conference pump that didn't happen this year. But then we started heading downwards. All of the things that we were looking forward to that we thought might turn the market around, whether it was, believe it or not, Chinese New Year, we thought maybe it was tax day, we thought maybe it was consensus. None of that stuff, because this used to be the largest crypto conference, by the way, none of that stuff pushed us in the right direction. You definitely had some boring sideways action here, and then this here was the true capitulation. Would have been during the hash wars of 2018. This would have been when Bitcoin SV popped up, Bitcoin Cash was fighting, they had a lot of big mining problems, you don't care about any of that. But then this here is what I call the U. Miami, the University of Miami, it's known for the U, right? Well, this here was the U. This was the bottom of the bear market. This is when we hit the lowest price and we slowly started coming out of it. So now we've zoomed this side in to the actual top of the market, which would have been right here. That's the top of the market. Now you look over here and you see from the top to the bottom, I mean, you kind of see a lot of similarities here, okay? You see one giant downward movement, then you see one reprieve of sideways action, one giant downward movement, one reprieve of downward action. And then what you actually have here is the bottom of the market. But notice you have a much shorter U, but you still have a U here. You still have the same shape for the bottom of the market that you had right here, okay? So that leads us to where we're at right now, okay? Coming out of the U, we came back up to this peak right here. On this one, it came to a much higher peak, which is very interesting because this actually right here went to about 2/3 of the previous all-time high. Well, this one right here, peaking out at about $28,000, well, you kind of look and say, kind of almost the same thing, about 2/3, not quite, but about 2/3 of the previous all-time high. So what am I telling you from this point forward? What have we gained by looking at all this? So the main question here is, what are we going to see here? That's what we have right now. This is a question mark. We don't know what's going to happen at this point. But what we do know, what we've seen. Now, I do want to highlight this here, because we're only comparing the last bear market. However, this capitulation, because of the pandemic, this was unusual. We usually don't get that. But you could use this and you could forecast this and say, when are we going to get to this action right here? This action right here is what really kicked off this movement going up. So that's Monday, July 27th. So your real run up started at the end of July. Now your Bitcoin halving, of course, took place in May, which would probably been about right there. That right there, this right here is about your Bitcoin halving time right there. We still have approximately, probably, let's see if it is June now, we got 6 months left this year. We're probably looking at about 9 months until we have the Bitcoin halving. So the question is, if we're right there, how far back is 9 months from here? This would be back in May of 2020. So this would take you all the way back to 5 minus 4. This would have been September of 2019. The point is this. The point is, when you look at the timing of all this, and you look here and you say, this is about a 9-month period between here and the halving, and that's where we blew up, and you were to forecast forward and say, well, what is about 9 months from now? And 9 months from now, you get about March. So you could certainly make the argument that since our U shape over here in this new market was actually significantly shorter than the U in this one, that we kind of compacted our time a little bit. The question here that we should all be looking at, and this is my personal opinion right now, is how many months are we going to be looking at boring action for crypto? The action for the last month, well, it's been pretty boring. If you come here and you look at this was your boring stage with the exception of the pandemic here. I think the next 3 to 4 months are going to be extremely boring, because if you look back here and you say, this was about a 9-month period of boring action, you kind of think forward to where 9 months we're going to be from now. We're going to be right there at the halving. That doesn't seem to line up. We usually get a dump around the time of the halving, and then we get upward action about 3 months later. I'm expecting from this point forward, I think we possibly have topped out here. There is a chance we make one more push up, because if you look at this from the bottom of the U here, would have been February to the top of the U, that would have been July. So that's 9 months. If you look at this one from the bottom of the U here to the top, that's December, that's April. 5 months shorter. 5 months shorter of a U shape than what we saw back here. So, in my opinion, I think we've got to figure out some way over the next couple of months to either see one more little run up and then maybe less time of boring action, or if we don't get another run up right now, I think we are dead set to probably look at something like this. We're probably going to go sideways, we're going to dump a little bit, get a time of a pump. Not sure about the pandemic wick, not sure if we're going to get that again. But then going upwards from there, I just think probably for the rest of the summer, I think we're at least going to see probably some boring action. I could be wrong. We could see some high volatility. We certainly saw some volatility there. But in my opinion, that's what we're looking at. There was a lot of time during the end of 2019, before 2020, where people like me even were saying, I don't know if we're right about this. Maybe we're going to end up going into some extremely unprecedented territory where maybe Bitcoin doesn't recover from this bear market. But I think that it will. I think if we get another run up in the short term, we could go to 40 or so and come back down. Could hit 35 and go back down. But I think most likely, I think right now, everybody buckle up. We see it in the numbers. The numbers with our audience even is going down a little bit. Why? Because people are bored. And I think we're going to continue to see more of that boring action in the market. Just buckle in. I think it's going to be a boring summer. That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.